Okay, we have just four people. Any other person? Okay, for those of us that have done the assignments, you can just drop the link quickly. I think I'll just quickly rush to check maybe one or two people's work and see what you guys have done randomly actually before we move on. Okay, okay, I think I have like two response. Okay, for those of us who did not remember the assignment, I said we should create some things using auto layouts like buttons, and I asked us to create three buttons with auto layouts and one with hug, one with fixed, right? Okay, can you guys see my screen? Okay, so the first person I have
Yes.
here, awesome. First person I have here, okay, hug, fixed width and fixed height. Okay, so I have hug, okay, alright, awesome, awesome. This is great. So let me see who this is. Okay, this is for ADB. Well done.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And then we have another entry here. Um, this is for me. Okay, no, I don't think. Adidamola, right? Mary Rose. This is for Mary Rose.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Awesome, awesome. I love this. So because of our time
Thank
and the
you.
fact that we have a lot to, okay, I think I have one more person here. Let me see if I can check that. Well, I want to try to rush up a bit so we can briefly do a little bit of recap and we'll just move on to what we have for today. Okay, so for this last person, I can't access your file. It says request to access. That's for Kosi's design. So we just have to move to what we have to do today. So in our previous class, we talked about auto layout. We talked about what auto layout is, ways to use auto layout, ways you can things you can do with auto layout, and then we talked about the layout flow where we talked about direction. Okay, I think she has given me access. I'm going to come back to that. We talked about the directions of auto layout, and then we talked about vertical, horizontal, and then wrap, right? Then we showed us the direction here, and then we also talked about stacking, right? How to stack different objects upon each other while using auto layout. We talked about different type of stacking, which is first on top, last on top. That's the different types of stacking. Then showed us the stacking order here, and then we also mentioned the fact that we also mentioned that the fact that you are stacking your design or your files, your objects like this doesn't mean it's going to affect them on your layer panel. It's still going to remain the same way, right? Then we talked about absolute positioning. And then when we mentioned absolute positioning, we said that for absolute positioning, you can put any object, you can put um, an object inside an auto layout frame wherever you want it to be, right? For example, if you just want something to remain in a certain place, you don't want it to follow the same direction or the same auto layout flow, you can use absolute position for that. And we also talked about spacing, which is the gap between items. We talked about the auto and the specified gap, right? And we talked about padding. We have talked about different paddings that we have. We have the vertical and the horizontal padding, right? And we said that the horizontal padding comprises of left and right, and then the vertical padding talks about the top and the bottom, right? So those were the few things we talked about in last class before we moved on to designing, right? So before I move on to what we have today, is there any question concerning last class that you want to ask? Just briefly, maybe I'll just answer one or two questions. Is there any question? Okay, I see that we don't have any question. All right, so that's a good sign. So we're going to move on to what we have today. And today I want us to kind of do something more practical compared to what we did in the last class. So in the last class we did more of theory, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share us, maybe I'll share you some of this, or I'll just send a link to where you can get the article on Figma website direct. So you can just get the article there and you can read it for more understanding. But basically, it's still the same thing that we've done in class. But here are just some practical steps that I want us to do, and I want to show us the importance of auto layouts, how it helps you to reduce your workload and also align your work whenever you are designing. So we have like a dashboard here, a mini dashboard, and everything that has been designed here was designed using auto layouts, right? So everything is designed in auto layouts frames, right? And the reason why it's done like this is just so that one, in case you are removing elements, it's going to be easier for it to realign, and then you have perfect alignment, and then you also have it makes your work faster. So here are some examples I want to show us. So imagine we have this here, and imagine that you for example now you worked on this before, and probably you realize that you don't need one of these um, input field. You don't need one of them. Maybe it's not necessary, right? And you want to remove it. If you're not using auto layout, it's going to be very difficult for you. It won't be difficult, but it will waste your time in the sense that when you remove this, you have to realign everything from start to bottom. But with auto layout, if I remove this guy, for example, let me just close it. You can see that everything has aligned. You wouldn't even notice that something was missing. Like everything looks perfectly aligned. And if I bring it back, it just falls back in shape. So that's one of the importance of using auto layout. If you come to this place too, right? So imagine if I want to, like for example, this card here, I want to remove one of these, right? So I want to remove illustration, for example. If I remove it, you can see that automatically it just closed the gap between design and work. So it is not like giving that awkward space and showing you that something is missing. It closes it for you, and then it makes it very easy, and your work is neat and properly aligned. So you don't need to stress yourself trying to realign everything again. So I'll just advise you from the scratch, you do the job by using auto layout from the scratch. Just in case you need to change some things, you don't need to stress yourself to start doing all of that. You understand? So we're just going to take, though we might not be able to design everything, but I'll just use one as an example, and we can also do the rest. So for here too, it's still the same thing. So imagine if I want to remove the contact details. Let's say we have another page of this dashboard and we don't need contact details for that page, but we want everything there. So if I close it, you can see that it closes up everything, right? The spacing is everything just close up and it's properly aligned. It's not really awkward, right? And if I bring it back, everything falls back in line. So that's one important thing about auto layout. Do we understand? Okay. So the first thing we are going to do here is we want to design a card like this. Let's say we want to design this whole frame like this. So the first thing we are going to start with is we are going to start with elements bit by bit before getting the full frame. So we start with the smaller elements and then we'll move on to the bigger elements. So the first thing we'll start with, we're going to start with, let's say we start with our text. Let's start with this text here. So let's say we have, I'm just going to copy that and paste. Let me change my background color to white so you guys can see what I'm doing. So let's say we have a text here, right? I'm just imagine you type this text out, right? And then I have another text. Because of time, I'll just be copying and pasting. So I have another text here. What I'll do now is I'll select the both of them and I'm going to add auto layout. So you guys already know how to add auto layout. You can press Shift A or you right click and then you add auto layout. So I've added auto layout to this little guy here. That's the two of them. Alright. Then the next thing is I'm going to pick one of each of these elements one by one. So we have design, illustration, and work. So let's say we have, or let me just type it out, design, right? So you have something like this. I'll right click, I'll add auto layout to this. This is one. So I'm adding auto layout to this. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to reduce the vertical padding. I don't want it to be too big. I'll just make it 5, right? Then the horizontal padding, I can leave it as 10. Then I'm going to add a fill. Remember the way we created a button, the way we created a button last week. So just create button, then I can change the color. Let me use, all right. Then I can add a corner radius to this. So let's say I have a corner radius of 5. So what I'll do now is this is an auto layout. I'll just duplicate. So to duplicate this, you can press Ctrl D to duplicate, or you can select this, hold down Alt on your keyboard, and then drag. So just hold down Alt, you click and drag, and then I'll change this to illustration. So you remember when we talked about fixed width, fixed height, and then we talked about hog and all of that. So we're using hog. So I'll just write illustration, right? And the next one is work. So I'll duplicate this again and I'll change it to work. So now I have 3 different options. So I'll select all of them. So if you want to select all of them, if you click on this, hold down shift, select this, hold down shift and select this. So I select the 3 of them, I'll right click and I'll add auto layout again. Right. So you right click, you add auto layout. That's we've added another auto layout. So when I add auto layout to this, I can reduce the gap because I don't want the gap to be too big. So let's say we reduce it to like 5. So I have it like this. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this button, right? So we'll have a rectangle and one icon. So let's draw a rectangle. If you want to draw, I believe you guys know how to design, so I won't want to waste our time explaining. But then if you want to draw a rectangle, you just come to the rectangle tool here. So I draw a small rectangle. Okay, this looks like it's a square. Okay, let me just say I draw a square. Anyone. Let me reduce it a bit. And then I give it a corner radius of 5, or let me say 10. Just something random though. And I have it here. Then I'm going to add, I want to do something like this. So I might just add a circle. Or imagine if you want to create that circle, like the human avatar. You can draw a circle like this. You have one, and then you can draw another one like ellipse, something like this. Then you make it black too. Just just something random. It's not difficult. So at least it looks like a human. So these two can just have it here. So it doesn't look perfect. And then you can reduce the spacing. Oh, this look weird. But let's just imagine. Well, let me use a normal. Sorry, use a normal rectangle. Let me change the color of this. With this one, just change the corner radius. So let's assume this is a human. So this one now you can also add auto layout to it if you want it to. You can add auto layout to the both of them. Yes, just so that they are together. And we have it here. We reduce the gap between them, make it point 0.6. So we have this here. So you select this and both this and the what they call it, the rectangle. You add another auto layout. So when you add auto layout to this, make sure you align to the center, align vertical center. Right. So you have this now. Then you can also create another button. So we have message. So this message, let's say the font size is 10. We create add auto layout to this. You can make the height. Let's just be bothered about the width. So the vertical padding, sorry, the horizontal padding. Let's say we make it 20, or I think 20 is small. Let's make it 50. Yeah, 50 is okay. Then we have a fill added to it here. So for our fill, we can give it the same color here. Then this one, so what I'm just doing basically is that I'm just adding auto layout to almost everything. As I'm creating it from scratch, I'm adding auto layout, right? So the design might not be exactly um, perfect in terms of um, specification and all of that. But what I want you guys to just get is the auto layout part that I'm adding. So I want to make this um, the same height with this guy. Like, so it's either I reduce this guy a bit, or I increase this guy. So if I want to increase this guy, then just increase the vertical padding a bit to ensure that it's the same. And the next add corner radius of 10. So these two, I'll select, sorry, I'll select this and this, both of them, and I'm also going to add auto layout. So what I just did is every section is on auto layout frame. The first one here, auto layout. This one here, auto layout. This one too, auto layout. So we have almost everything on auto layout, right? So the next thing that we need to do is our picture frame. So we just draw a rectangle, right? So I believe you guys know how to impute a picture, but if, in case you don't, let's say we have a rectangle here, right? And then we have a corner radius of either 10 or let's use 10 since we've been using 10 ultra. So we have a corner radius here. You can copy and paste from any place where you have picture, or you can just come here, select image, you go to choose image, and you can choose from your PC. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just choose one random image from my PC. Yeah, so I have this here. So now we have almost everything on auto layout, right? From top to bottom. So now we are going to sectionalize everything one by one, and it depends on the method you want to use. So you might decide to say, okay, I want to section, sorry, I want to section this and this together, or this and this together. But then you have to still think on which one benefits you more in case of when you want to remove elements, right? So when you want to remove elements, will it um, align properly? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to group these two together. So this name and what the person does, two of them, we're going to add auto layout to that. So these first two, right click and then we add auto layout to this. And if someone is wondering that why too much auto layout, this is good because instead of grouping, it's just like you are grouping. Remember, if you are used to designing before, you either group or you frame. So it's still the same thing. But the importance with this is that once you remove any elements, it will properly align. And if you add elements, it will still expand. You understand? So we have two of them together. And let's say we make the spacing 10 like this. Then the next thing we'll do is we'll add this and the picture frame, add auto layout to it, and then we'll align to this. So we can make this one the spacing 20, right? Then the next thing we do is add this together to add auto layout to this and we'll make it 20 again, right? So 20, 10, 20. So generally now we have auto layout for everything. So what we can do now is to have the background, we'll just add a fill to it. So you add a fill, and when you add a fill, you need to add padding to it because you see that the white is just stopping at the edge. So this is where we need to add our padding. So we're going to add some padding to it. So for our padding, you can see that both vertical and horizontal, it is 0, right? So we're going to add padding to it. So let's say we have 20, 20. So this is just random. So we have 2020, and then we have a corner radius of 20. So right now we have a card here, right? Or let's say we have 10, 10, 10. Anyhow you want to do it. So if you have 10, 10, 20. And right now you can also decide to add a stroke if you want. Right? You can decide to add a stroke if you want. So this is how we created a card. But I think 20 will be cool for much space. Anyhow you want it though. So you can see right now that we have a card here. Right? So if you want to still expand this into a larger scale, so we duplicate this here, right? And then we also duplicate this and this. Let's say we have like six different cards, and those cards are different. They are partitioned into sections. So we have like top picks based on your job listing, and we have like um, top connected, blah blah blah. So let's say we have one section here. We have the first section here, and we have another section here, and we have another section here, right? So break let me take them apart. Or one way you can do this to make it easy for you, let me just tell you, and do it once instead of going through all this stress. So work on it this first. So you have this section first, right? Top picks. So what you just do here is you these two of them, you add auto layouts to them. As you select the two cards, you add auto layout to them. Then you select both the card, all of them like this, right? And then you can add auto layout to it. So when we added auto layout to this guy, it makes it one, right? You agree with me? So it makes it one. Then imagine like for this one now, you don't want can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
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 So let's
Yes.
say you don't want this guy to be at the edge, you want it to be at the top, or you want it to move here a little bit. So the only way you can do that is using absolute positioning. So you can just use absolute positioning, take it up like this. You don't want it to be where it was before. You can use absolute positioning for that. But let's just leave it the way it is, like this. So what we are going to do, or no. So what we are going to do now is this frame. I'll just duplicate this and I'll duplicate this. So now I can just change this. So top picks, you can change it to, what was the next one? Top connected, right? And say top connected. Okay. Another hack that I've noticed is that you can, if you want, if you want space here, you can just give space bar. You can use space bar to give it a little bit space. I mean, to make it easier for you, just use your space bar and you can add space to it. Let's say this one we have let's just say trending. That's random. So we have all of these here, right? And you want them to be part of this same frame. So let's say we have the heading here, something like this. Six talents. Okay. How many do we have? I think we have six talents here. So you want it to be part of this frame here. So this one now, you have a search bar here. So everything has to be like in auto layout. So if you have a search bar here, that means I'm just want to pick this. Don't waste our time. So this search bar and this one, since they're on the same line, you just align. Even though you don't align, you just add auto layout to it. You come here, align vertical center, right? And then you increase the gap between. You just make it something like this. Yeah, good to go. So now you can select every frame one by one. Select all of them one by one, and you can add auto layout to them. So the important thing with this is that once this is selected, you can reduce the spacing between them easily. So it's easy for you to reduce the spacing between them. And also, if you decide to remove, let's say you have a section where this does not exist, if you decide to remove this section, you can see that this one will just automatically overlap it. You can see. And also, you can add a fill to it. So let's say we add a fill, click on the general auto layouts, right? And then we add fill. So when we add fill now, what we just need to do is add our padding and our margin. So let's say we have 30 by 30. Can you see? So we have a complete box like this. So this is very easy for you to create anything you want to create with auto layout. So what you do, you need to start from the scratch, like micro elements. What I mean by micro elements, I mean from this text. So all those micro elements, you start adding auto layout to them as you keep building up. So imagine if you want to have different people. So for example, let's say we have a random person here. Let me use someone's name in the class. Let me see. Whose name am I going to use? And someone can recommend a name though. Okay, Jeff. No, why would I use Jeff? I mean, Jeff is. No, no, no. So I saw Odo Ogaga. Let me just use Odo. Sorry, Odo. So let's imagine Odo Ogaga is just a designer and he's a, let's say, an animator, right? He's a designer and an animator, and he doesn't do illustration. So if Udo Ogaga doesn't do illustration, that means we are going to remove illustration, right? So if you remove illustration without auto layout, it means that there'll be a space here and you need to rearrange everything. So now we just remove illustration from here. Let's say we just remove illustration. See that automatically it's going to close up that gap, right? And let's say we have another person. Let me use read one Oladipo. So let's say we have read one Oladipo, right? So read one Oladipo maybe is just he's into fashion, um, music, and I don't know, fashion, music, and what else? Let's say work. So you can see that when I'm changing it to fashion, music, and the rest, it still has the same spacing. So it's just increasing. So imagine if I want to change this from work to probably design, you can see. And if I want to add one more, let's say I want to add one more tag to Oladipo, I just select this last tag. I press, or I select any of the tag. Maybe if I want it to be in the middle, I can select this middle one here, right? After me, let me just select this music tag. I press Control D. Sorry, I went to dev mode. So so let's say I press I want to press Shift D instead of Control D. I press Control D. So that when I press Control D, it just duplicates this guy. And one thing is that it increased the space. So the reason why this space increased, I mean the space of our overall auto layout increases because of the fact that it's on what do you call this, bulk content. If it was on fixed, right? Let's say this guy is on fixed width. He's on fixed width. If I add one of these guy, it's not going to. Nothing will happen here. You just overlap it. You get. So if I want this to not look awkward like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and then I'm going to warp. So warp means that I can break it. Sorry, I'll select this instead. Select this frame and I'll wrap. Sorry, no warp, wrap. I don't know why I keep calling it that. So now I can now mm, I mistakenly locked the layer. So let me wrap this and then I break it like this. So I don't want it to overlap, just wrap it and then you break it like this. You understand? So it still falls in place and then I can also duplicate and I can add another one. So it works both ways. So it still make my work properly aligned. You get, I don't need to do too many stuff and all of that. So that's one important thing about having auto layout in your design. So if you decide to remove the trending, if you decide to remove the trending, it will just close up the space. So you can see I remove the trending. There's no awkward space behind. If I remove this first one too to close up, so it just makes this card very small. And if I remove the six talents, it's going to close up also. And if I close this guy, everything will just be empty. You get. So yeah, that's it about auto layout. I hope you guys learned something. Okay. So I hope it wasn't really complex because I know auto layouts can be it can be confusing. But what you just need to do is, like I said, start from the micro elements. You start from small, and then you keep building up on it. You add as much auto layouts as possible. Don't just add random auto layouts, mind you. Make sure the auto layout you're adding is useful. You understand? So you can see that the reason why everything is responsive is because we added auto layouts from the micro elements. What I mean by micro elements, I'm talking of the small elements, for example, the text and all of that. So if I decide to remove this icon here, if I don't want this icon anymore, if I remove it, this one is going to fill up that space, right? So yeah, that's about auto layout. Is there any question?
Angel, yes,
Yeah.
I actually have a question. So
Okay.
for the picture,
Yeah.
how do we change the picture? I think I was working on one project one time. I tried changing.
Okay,
Um,
you can change the picture normally. Like for example, I can let me just share my own screen. So you can change anything you want to change, right? So let's say we go to pixel.com, right? And let's look for random image of a guy or a lady or guy and girl, anyone. So this guy picture is very common. So let's say we have this picture, right? So there are different ways to import pictures. One is I can come here, copy. But if you want to copy from here, make sure that the image has fully loaded. I mean, so that you can have a good quality. So I can copy, right? Copy image, and I go to my Figma. I select the rectangle frame, and I press Ctrl V. So when I press Ctrl V, it's going to add the image. So you can see, right? So it has added the image, but then this guy head is not showing, and we don't want it to be like this. So we can also resize, right? So if you want to resize this, you come here and you click on this image here, and you see the option fill. Click on the fill drop down and you go to crop. So when you go to crop, it's going to show you the full image. Then I'll advise you hold down shift so that it doesn't move out of the frame. So you hold down shift, click and drag down a little bit, and you have it. So because of the way our picture frame is, so it might not fit in very well. You can also increase or reduce it if you want. But the reason why I'm not going to reduce it is because if I reduce it, there's going to be one awkward white space here that is not filling everything. So we don't want that awkward white space. So if this picture doesn't work, I mean, there are tons of pictures on the internet, so you can go and look for other pictures that will work for that space. It mustn't be exactly that one, right? So just copy, then you paste, right? Another method is you can just click here on the image, come to image, you see different options here. You see the color option, which is solid, gradient, and you see image. You can see it here. So when you click on image, you're going to see, just select image. So because it's an image right now, so it won't show you the black and white styles because there's already an image there. So what you just do is you hover your cursor here and you choose image. So you go to choose image and it takes you to your um, file and you choose image from your file. So you can choose any image from your file. Then you're good to go. I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, that's clear. Another thing, can we add like outside elements into an auto layout, like not duplicating a text now, like bringing in another
Yeah,
text
you
and
can.
icon?
You can.
Won't it
Let's say
doesn't affect?
it will, but it just expand your tutorial. If it is, so let's add a random element. And let me just create one random element. Let's say I have a random circle here. So if I add this one, you can see that it increased this. So just drag it. If I drag it into this one to all see, let me drag it into this one. Can you see? So it will affect it, it's just increase it. But if it's not on fixed, sorry, if it's on fixed, right? And I added this, you might just overlap it. Let's say I have fixed width and fixed height. If I happen to add this, you might just overlap it. So it to push it outside the box, to push one element outside the box, but it will still be inside the auto layout.
So we can't solve it that so like it
Then
won't affect it that much. Like adding it towards the right hand side
you
of
want to add it, I don't understand.
without it affecting without
Like
it
you add
influencing.
elements without it affecting the auto layout.
Yes, it's not possible.
Yeah, it's possible. So if you want to do this, you remember we talked about absolute positioning, right? So if you add this, you can just select absolute position and you can put it wherever you want to.
Okay.
So let's reduce this. So let's say we have something like this. Make it work. So absolute positioning will help you probably put this wherever you want to put it. And it won't affect the auto layout frame. And then for example, if you want to, maybe your another important thing about auto layout is, let's say your product manager or anybody, or you decide to say, okay, I want to increase this instead of just two per row. I want to make it um 3 3. So let's say I select one of this, just select one of this card, Control D, select this one to Control D, select this one, Control D. So you can see that it has increased it for you. Alright. If you want to also duplicate this, Control D, it has increased it for you. And if you want to change the direction, instead of vertical, you want to make it horizontal to still do the same thing for you. So you want to make this one, instead of making it vertical, you want it to be horizontal, do the same thing. Anyhow you want it to go. So if you want it on a straight line or you want it to go this way, anyone that works for you. So I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that auto layout is good for your design. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think someone asked a question on the chat. Um,
Okay, let's quickly
Please, could you
show
show us? Yeah.
how to make the card responsive. Like I mean for mobile view and is that what you're trying to say?
I what similarly, you can unmute yourself so we can understand.
Yeah, I think you said for mobile view and yep. So remember when I showed you the different options you can give? You can do vertical, you can do horizontal. So you can decide to say, okay, you want it to be um, instead of this, if you want it to be mobile responsive, you want to break this. Um, that means you need to change the orientation to something like this. So instead of it like this, like something like this guy now, sorry, I'm calling this elements guy. So let's say we have this, it's facing the horizontal flow. It's having the horizontal flow. You can change it to vertical, right? You come here to select just the single one, change it to vertical, do that for everything, change it to vertical, and then change it to vertical. So now you can select this one and then you change it to vertical also. So this one you can just reduce the spacing, or this guy here, since you've I don't change it to vertical yet, just select this one, right? And then reduce the spacing between them. So you have it like this. So right now you have it on mobile view. Timmy9, did you get that? I don't know if it makes sense to you. Okay, okay. So it's very easy actually. So those flows that I talked about, vertical and horizontal flow, it helps you to position your design. So if you want a mobile view, this is easy and straightforward for you. All right, so we've just converted this from desktop to mobile view, right? And you can scroll like this on your mobile. So auto layout is very good for your design and makes work very easy. All right, you want to change this back? you do the same thing, change it to horizontal, change it back, like we do the same thing, right? So we just change this back. But me, I would advise that you first of all start with the web before changing to the mobile, because it will be easy to change from that direction to the mobile direction. Right. That's my own piece of advice. Right. So, um, is there any other question?
Hello everyone. Ask a question. This is the time opportunity for you to understand or to lay out. So if you have a question, you can raise your hands or use the chat box. Okay, I think everybody.
Good evening. I think someone is speaking. Okay, no question. So, I want to believe that we all understand how to use auto layouts and also how to add auto layouts to our design. So, guys, what you just need to do is make sure whenever you want to start your design, for me, I will advise you sketch your design first before designing. I mean, that's one of the best way to design. You sketch before designing. So from your sketch, you already know what and what you already know how to add them into auto layout, right? From your sketch, it's easy for you to look at it and then say, okay, I'm going to be adding this section by section into auto layout. So if you have your sketch, you just add everything together. And one thing this helps you to do is that if you see what I did here was that I spent time to design one and then I duplicated into different places. So you can see that we have up to, I think um, we have like 12 different cards, right? And I designed just one. So you can design 12 different cards, right? And all you just need to do is you just keep editing and updating, right? That way it's very easy for you. So spend time designing one first and getting it right, and then you can also duplicate. So after creating a slide in mobile view with different cards and you want to prototype it horizontally, will auto layout work for that? Yeah, it's going to work. I mean, it's going to work. I don't know if I got the question correctly, but based on what you are saying here is after creating a slide in mobile with different cards and you want to prototype it horizontally, will auto layout work for that? It should, but if I'm not answering it well, you can just speak.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so for example, now let's say that this the first card here is mobile view. Let's say that
Hmm.
you aligned it, what's it called, vertical? Is it vertical? No, horizontally, the way it was before the card,
Yeah.
and it's still in mobile view. You know, the frame is not going to be able to contain it. Like, it's going to like, I don't know how to explain it. Let's say you have like three cards in this mobile view, this same size of view that we are seeing now, but the
Yeah.
cards are arranged horizontally.
Yeah.
You know, now definitely the three cannot show at once. You have to like slide
Okay, let's
to
say
the side before you can.
so. Okay.
Then you can
Like cards that are hiding inside,
yes,
so you have
yes,
to
yes,
slide to see
yes,
them, right?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can continue.
So like after creating that, and then you want to prototype it. So I had that issue one time like that, and it didn't work. Prototyping didn't work. That's why I'm asking if probably I didn't do it well,
Well, that is
or
beyond auto layout actually. That's where you talk about components and variants. I think you didn't prototype it well. But if you want to do that, it's still under components and variants, right? So in that case, if you have something like this, you
Something
need to
like this
close
on a mobile.
this. So let's say it's like this, right?
Okay.
So you just one that is
Yeah.
showing, but you want it to slide,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That means you have others like this. So if you connect your prototype from this to this, you have to give it the instruction that if I click on slide, it brings this one and it brings the other one. But that one is still advanced. It's still under prototype. Sorry, component and variant. So that means you have to create multiple components and variants to be able to
Okay.
do that, right? So auto layout is just the arrangement and alignment. So that's under components and variants. Maybe if in the future, if Excel wants to do components and variants, maybe we'll do that. But for now, it's auto layout class, so we are going to stick with auto layout questions. But I understand what you're trying to say. But it's possible.
All right.
Let me just put it out there. It's very possible.
Okay.
So assuming I didn't start my design with auto layouts, yes, is it possible to use
Okay.
it? Yes, it is possible to use it later if you didn't start with auto layouts. So what you just need to do is you have to start selecting them one by one and adding auto layout to them, just like you're adding groups, right? So you just select them one by one. You add auto layout to them. So yeah, it's possible. Then sorry, what is the need for the card design? I don't really understand this question, Favor Kalu. I don't know if you can unmute your mic and explain.
I favor. If you are speaking, we can't hear you. Okay, I don't think she's. Yeah, she left the call. I think network.
Oh, okay. So I think that's all for now. But okay, Favor is back.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
So sorry, I joined late. What is this card used for? Like, what is the need for the card design?
Okay, the need for the card design.
Yes.
Uh, that question is kind of tricky. Okay, the need for the card design basically is just we are just like the way you have we call it cards in
Okay.
design. We call it cards. So it means that is a card comprises of different elements, right? So you have name, occupation, or what the person does, and you have like maybe the person interest. You can also message the person, or you can send a request. I don't know, and you can do other things. Just like you have, if you go to Facebook, you see different profiles of different people, so you can call it cards. If you are looking at Google Meet now, you see that everybody have their avatar and their name, and there is one microphone icon that shows that they are being muted. You can call that a card too.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand. So it's just a way of like sectioning different elements or different aspects of design.
Okay.
So I think that's all. Okay. Designing a responsive web view that in auto settings for button icon. Okay, what are the auto settings for button and icons? Uh, it depends on what you want to achieve. You can make the settings fixed. You can make it um you can make it hug depending on what you want to achieve, right? But most times I use, it depends. Sometimes I use fix, sometimes I use hug. So if I realize that it's not giving me what I want, I change it back to what I want. Okay, Abidemi, you can ask your question. I think this will be like the last.
Okay, so still I asked that question that you answered now. So I want to kind of like expatiate so that you can understand what I'm saying. So I was actually doing something what's it called, a web view, like I said, and then I was trying to make everything responsive. So I think for the buttons, like the text, all my text were filled so that when I try to like make it mobile view, it kind of automatically adjusts. Yeah, so when you now go to like button, so I think I was making mistake because when I tried to adjust it, like the button automatically increase in length, like it will just fill the old, should I say the old auto layer that I was using. So I think so I feel like I was doing something wrong. So that's why I'm asking that was like the correct setting for button in that kind of situation. Is it supposed to be on org or
Okay, in that
or what's the
set,
last?
hug would be the best because you are reducing, so you want it to hug, right? Yeah, I
Okay,
think based on what you said and the explanation you gave,
okay,
hug would be the best in that because you are changing it
okay.
from web to mobile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noted. And what of icons? So the same thing also happened to icons too. So the icons were getting bigger and I was like, Jesus, what's happening here?
If
So
your
they
icons
kind
are
of
getting for icons, you can leave it on fixed because you just want
on fixed
icons
Abby.
usually be small, so you want it to remain the way it is. So you can leave it on fixed.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Um, you can see I just worked on one, but you can do it for every aspect of um your design. You can add auto layout to every section, but we just worked on one because of our time, right? So um, I believe you guys have learned a lot on how to use auto layouts for this past 2 weeks that we've done auto layouts. And please, please, and please try to practice as much as possible. Try to get your hands on something to do. Just try using auto layouts, right? It's going to help you a lot, and you may make some mistakes, right? Which is allowed. So it's allowed to make mistakes, right? But the thing is, you learn from them. You get, so if you make one mistake, you just learn from it and then you move on, right? So I'm just going to drop the link to the article that you can also read um, more on Autodesk. It's just there on Figma website, so you can just read more to learn more about it. But basically, it's what we've done in class that you'll find here on the article. Yeah. So auto layout is very sweet and it makes work very easy for you and you make your work very neat and very fast. So I hope I'll be able to convince and not confuse you that auto layout is better than I don't know. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Auto layout is better than manual layout. All right. Thank you very much, Yemi. This was such a very insightful session from last week to this week. So we really appreciate you for your insights that you've shared with us. And I'm sure we all had a great time. We are all able to learn. We are all able to learn one or two things and to make our design better. Sorry, my system. All right, so we've come to the end of today's session, and do well to go in your space and use auto layout, use what you've learned, and also you can go back to the recording later once it's uploaded. So we are really grateful for you joining us today. And once again, thank you, Yemi, for your insight. So this event is brought to you by Pexels Design School. So Pexels is a school that teaches UI UX design. So no matter where you are in your journey, Pexels has a plan for you. So you can go to the website pexels.com to check out our website, and you are able to learn even many more things than you are doing right now. So it's also part of it. You're also going to be part of a community, a wonderful community like Pexels. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us, and we say good night. Have a lovely night rest. Bye, everyone. Good
Bye.
night. Bye.
Yeah, bye.